Oh, here's some more.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how you doing? Sugar, I need some water.
Sure. I understand. I just drink me lunch now.
There's water right there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, hello everybody. I'm aspiring Dr. White. I'm working on my doctorate currently right now. And this is Dr. Brandon. She is my co-presenter. Thank you for attending the Reading Bravely and Writing Wonderfully Across the Curriculum training. Today you're going to learn about strategies to read and write in any subject, including electives and fine arts, and also it mostly focuses on like differentiation and ESL strategies. And so I hope you enjoy the session. About us and our mission. Read, Rate, and Write Wonderfully LLC, Educational Consultants. Meaningful and relevant text will increase reading, comprehension, and writing skills for students' grades pre-K through college. Mission statement: to improve the reading and writing skills of all students for every subject by providing engaging text, reading, writing, and grammar skills for fostering literacy and academic achievement, as well as expressing their creativity. A little bit about myself. I'm Candace White. I have served as a preschool teacher, a Head Start teacher, secondary English teacher, and curriculum specialist in the public school system. I have a bachelor's degree in disciplinary studies, a master's in early childhood education, a master's in educational administration, and I'm currently working on my doctorate in curriculum and assessment. Since I've worked with students from birth to age 18, I understand that literacy is a high need, and you have to start those early foundational skills as early as when the baby is in the womb. It's that important. So again, I hope you enjoyed today's session. Best practices while teaching, of course, are modeling, guided practice, formative assessments, independent practice, transitions, activating students' prior knowledge, problem solving, and differentiation. And to me, differentiation goes with those ESL strategies, the SPED population, even the general population, because especially with everything being shorthand nowadays, like using text messages and different codes and things like that, it's good to use sentence frames for the students. Have the model, have them speak complete sentences, post sentence stems in your classroom for students to be able to know how to speak and communicate adequately. I'll just leave the slide up for a moment just in case you want to take a picture or write things down. Can I move forward? Slide. The main reading genres for all age groups, pre-K through 12, are nonfiction, drama, fiction, and I guess I left a few off here, but expository. And then, of course, just like technical writing or technical terms like in science and math. But the main focus for today will be showing you ways to do reading across the curriculum with nonfiction. Those are the examples I'm going to give you from a secondary standpoint, and then I'll give you an example of how to incorporate drama from an elementary standpoint. So first I'm going to start with analysis of literary nonfiction texts. Literary nonfiction texts are similar to fictional texts, but the focus is based on real-life experiences and often includes plot elements. Some well-known literary fiction texts include the works of Sandra Cisneros, Amy Tan and Gary Soto, for example, those are used in secondary a lot, starting in 7th grade. When students are reading literary nonfiction texts, they can complete a plot diagram to monitor understanding of the text, use annotation text strategies, and then also other graphic organizers to foster reading comprehension. I'm going to use an excerpt, but I just love this short story so much. I think I actually heard about it first in a training myself, so ever since then I started using it in my classroom. But anyway, it's an excerpt from Amy Tan's Fish Cheeks, and also if you've seen the movie The Joy Luck Club, I don't know if you've seen it, but Amy Tan also, her stories were in that movie, so I think this would be a good way to relate that to I guess media as well. You can show clips of Joy Luck Club in the classroom. But anyway, I'm just going to read a little bit of the excerpt. Robert grimaced. Then my father poked his chopsticks just below the fish eye and plucked out the soft meat. Amy, your favorite, he said, offering me the tender fish cheek. I wanted to disappear. At the end of the meal, my father leaned back and belched loudly, thanking my mother for her fine cooking. It's polite in Chinese, custom to show you are satisfied, explained my father to our astonished guest. Robert was looking down at his plate with a reddened face. The minister managed to muster up a quiet burp. I was stunned into silence for the rest of the night. After everyone had gone, my mother said to me, and I'll try to put on the voice if I can. You want to be, I can't do it, but anyway. You want to be the same as American girls on the outside? She handed me an early gift. It was a miniskirt, beige tweed. But inside, you must always be Chinese. You must be proud you are different. Your only shame is to have shame. And even though I didn't agree with her then, I knew that she understood how much I had suffered during that evening's dinner. It wasn't until many years later, long after I had gotten over my crush on Robert, that I was able to fully appreciate her lesson in the true purpose behind our particular menu. For Christmas Eve that year, she had chosen all of my favorite foods. So I've got a little question I'm going to ask you, and this is the question I actually asked the students too. What do you think the purpose of her mom giving the miniskirt to her was? Why would the mother give her a miniskirt? Take a minute to think about that, or a few seconds, and then you can turn and talk with somebody next to you to discuss. What was the purpose of her mother giving her the miniskirt? Take some think time, because this is what you would do with students. They need time to think. And then turn and talk and discuss with somebody near you. Why would Amy's mother give her a miniskirt? What does a miniskirt represent? See, now I just gave you a hint of what I want the conversation to be about. What does the miniskirt represent?
Culture.
Culture, what culture? American culture. So really, what do you think the overall theme is now? What was the theme of the story, or the excerpt? I'm sorry? Assimilation to the culture, being that all-American girl now. So even though she wore the miniskirt, which is popular, it's trending again now, it's popular again, she still felt like she was American, but she still had to remember her own culture. So it's like you're always going to be Chinese, whether you have the miniskirt on or not. Good job, y'all. That was awesome. All right, next. Strategies for analyzing drama texts. Drama texts are similar to fictional texts. The main difference is the stage directions are used and characters have lines. Students can understand the plot because of stage directions and character motivation. As students read, they need to thoroughly read the stage directions to understand the events that are leading up to the setting, conflict, climax, following action, and resolution. I'm just going to show you a little clip, and this is on YouTube. Oh, it's going to all my slides. I don't know how to get back. I don't know what to do.
The arrow.
Arrow.
The other way.
I'm having
Other way.
technical difficulties. So okay. It's because it's a pencil.
It is not correct.
Okay. Do I right click or?
Yeah, there it goes.
Yeah.
So this is about 2 minutes long, so it'll give you, and
My job is to make college
That's when you
easy
think
because
of
students
Mhm.
have a lot on heart.
I can tell that since the students were at home, this clip was probably made during like COVID times. So that was good. Maybe they were sisters or maybe they were homeschooled. I don't know. But I think it was a good example of readers theater to get the kids to be interactive with drama text.
The monsters glare at the magicians as loud as if. For the very first time, the magicians.
This is an example from the Wizard last time. I'm sorry, I didn't say that.
I will make a cloud to hide behind. Asked the wizard, but that didn't show the monsters. I will make thunder to scare them. Huckleberry, but the monsters were not frightened. I will make lightning that will make them go away. Cried the magic chicken, but they just would not go away. Nothing worked. We better, said the wizard. Try something, said the fairy. Together, said the magic chicken. So they did. 1, 2, 3, go! The cloud and the thunder and the lightning came together. Suddenly it rained. It rained so hard that the monsters got so wet they all swung until they were only little monsters. Not scary at all. Oh, we are so tiny. We did it! Cheered the wizard, the fairy, and the magic chicken. I must say, the mid-cloud did make rain, said the wizard. Very sad. Well, it was because of my thunder. But now without my lightning, said the magic chicken. It was just a wizard, a fairy, and a magic chicken. They argued a lot, but deep down they were very good friends. The end.
All right. What is one thing that you noticed that happened in the video that the girls did well? Think about that again, and then you can just share out. You don't necessarily talk to a partner about it, but you can just share out. What is one thing you noticed that the girls did well in the video clip?
Showing comprehension through their inflection.
Inflection, they're changing their voices, really acted it out. I think it's probably, well, 'cause I taught elementary last year, and they were more enthusiastic about drama than me teaching 12th grade with Beth this year. Like, they don't want to read. But the third graders are more willing to do it. So it really just depends on what age group. I think middle school is still pretty good. You can get them motivated to do it as well. Would anybody else like to share? Thank you.
They have a lot of expression.
They have a lot of expression, and they were enthusiastic about doing it. And what were you going to say, ma'am? I'm sorry.
They were also demonstrating the movements while they were
Yes, they were demonstrating the moves. So that was good. So you can still make it fun, for the kids. Maybe work with the theater teacher or, the music teacher or something like to make it come alive as well. All right, the next thing. All right, now the good part. The main focus of the session. Implementation of reading and writing across the curriculum. When students are reading any form of text, it is imperative that they are writing while they read. For example, if the students are reading a nonfiction text about global warming, they can use the problem solution strategy or cause and effect to interpret or explain the text. Next, teachers can allow students to share their chart with a peer. That way they can build on each other's ideas, and especially with the ESL and special education pop. Reading and writing are like peanut butter and jelly on a sandwich. They cannot be separated. I know that was a clever analogy.
Go back.
All right. writing across the curriculum. This will cover grammar concepts, note-taking, anchor charts. If you want to take pictures of that, that's fine. The writing process and the MENTS capitalization strategy. Grammar concepts. While reading, students can use the sentences composed to understand how to write using proper punctuation, grammar, and practice pitch and inflection as they read. So for example, when I read Fish Cheeks, I could have used that. It's like, how many commas are in there? Or where does she put quotation marks? Why does she put an exclamation point when she said Robert grimaced? So like, you already have exemplary text in front of you that you can use as a model instead of reinventing the wheel and finding grammar sentences that are messed up or whatever. Like, you can just reinvent the wheel. instead of reinventing the wheel, just use the text you already have as a mentor text. And you can even change it up. You can make an error, or you spelled Robert Grimace wrong. You spelled Robert's name wrong. You spelled Grimace wrong. It's like, how do you really spell Grimace? Is it G-R-I-M-A-C-E or is it G-A-R-I-M-C? M-A-C, without the E. And why would I add the E at the end of Grimace? It would be Grimmick without the E. So now that I added the E, that's the long, it's like the long E. So like you could use the text you already have. Next, the student will understand the text better if they know why the punctuation, repetition, parallelism, and other creative writing techniques are used. Students can work on grammar in all subjects because they are expected to write critically on a daily basis. Whether the teacher is a grammar expert or not, please emphasize the importance of writing at expected grade level to help improve reading and writing fluency. Are there any questions before I start the next slide? Okay. Note-taking technique for the writing process across the curriculum. So this is Cornell Note. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that, but even if you're not, there's still ways that you can incorporate writing in all subjects. And I gave an example with even electives included in this. I hope you can see it. Let me make it a little bit. And today I feel like my name is Candace White. I didn't put a date, but the subject is multiple subjects. Topic. Examples of note-taking of multiple subjects. Objective. To understand how to use Cornell Notes in your classroom. Essential question. How do we create main idea questions and do notes? Main idea for math. What is the Pythagorean theorem? And really, that's the only formula I remember in math. I'm going to be honest. So I just had to put that on there real quick. That was the only thing I always remember. But it's the formula for adding the sides of a triangle. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And you see I wrote it out in a complete sentence. What is a quarter note? It has 4 beats on a staff per measure. This is for band or for choir. What is segregation? This is going to be for social studies or English. When races are divided/separated. What is imagery? This is for English or theater or creative writing. It is a way to be descriptive in a literary work, and you can, I meant to put imagine, I had a typo, but the text is described by using the 5 senses: hear, see, smell, taste, and touch. What is a hypothesis? Or now they call it scientific inquiry or something. But I still remember hypothesis, I'm going to use that. It is an educated guess to make when you're doing a science experiment. So that was all. So I tried to use all the subjects, and even an elective example, just for you to see that you can get your kids writing. And I do remember in band, we had to write out what a quarter note was. We didn't do it on Cornell's, but we had to know the terminology. So, that's the way to implement that. Any questions? All right, here's something that I use. I actually found this originally on, I think, Teacher Pay Teacher or Google or something. But this is how you can revise and edit, and this is the anchor chart. Everybody can use this. I say this should be put in everybody's classroom. That's just me though. Because we're expecting them to write about, okay, so what happened during your science experiment today? You want them to write a little paragraph, 3 to 5 sentences that need to be still, revising. So they need to add sentences and words, remove words and sentences they don't need, move sentences or words to another part of a paragraph, or substitute words for using better ones or using thesaurus or a dictionary. So I can say, in my science experiment today, we learned about the life cycle of a butterfly. Or I could have said we learned about the life cycle of a larvae. See, I upped the vocabulary. Or a chrysalis, or there's other terms that they're using at the same time. So that's what, it says substitute words for good ones. That's good for ESL. Capitalization, Edward Cups, capitalization. Beginning of sentences, names, pronouns, titles, I when it stands alone, days of the week, and holidays. I hate when I is lowercase. But I don't think they understand that why it needs to be capitalized. It's the proper noun. And that goes back to like the text messaging and doing autocorrect for you and all that stuff. So they need to know the basis behind that. Usage, make sure your words make sense. There for location, there for possession, they are for they are, and rules. So they need to know all those rules. Punctuation, and we already talked about that a little bit when I gave the example of fish cheeks. But using a period, a question mark, a semicolon. A semicolon is when you're combining similar ideas. A colon is when you're doing a series of steps. An exclamation point is when you're, trying to be, louder. You need to put parentheses when you have a little idea that's in your head, but it relates to the sentence you already wrote. You need to use quotation marks when you're quoting somebody else, and use a dash. What do you use a dash for? I can't think right now. Can somebody share that out? What would you use a dash for?
To join words.
Yeah. To add words.
Yes.
Join
Sometimes
words.
add a definition into the sentence.
Exactly, yes, good, thank you. I had a great phrase for it. All right, and spelling. Check words for correct spelling by using the dictionary or thesaurus. Not their cell phones, the actual hard copy book. So everybody should have a dictionary. Even if you have like a copy of 2 or 3, okay, I have just these 3, so if I'm in science or if I'm in math, I can pull this out so I know how to spell Pythagorean theorem right, or I know how to spell what equation or whatever. I'm not a math person now, sorry. I'm trying to be today. I'm trying to be cross-curricular. This is another anchor chart. I think this should be posted to every classroom as well, just in case you want to do like a cross-curricular, because like when I taught 7th grade, they were doing a science project in their room, and then I was trying to get them prepared for writing an essay for the state standardized test. So we tried to do a collaboration where in my class they were writing the essay, in science they were doing the inquiry, in math they did a real world math problem with it too. I can't remember what it was exactly, and then in my class they were doing the writing part. So I think this anchor chart should be posted in every room too, just in case a history teacher might make you write an essay about segregation or issues in history or whatever. But I'll break this down to you as well. So your expository essay needs to include the following 4 paragraphs. An introduction. It can add a hook where you hook the reader with a quote, a fact, or a topic description. A bridge, which is transition sentences or background. Information about the topic, a thesis statement, 1 sentence that lists your belief or claim, adding 2 reasons, and then a body paragraph. 1, explain your first reason with a detailed example from entertainment, sports, news, and it's also, you can put ESPN. I made it an acronym for my kids. So give an example from entertainment, sports, a personal example, or news. Some people say anecdote, that still goes to personal example. So the words are synonymous. Connect the example back to your thesis. 2nd body paragraph. Explain your first reason with a detailed example from entertainment, sports, personal example, or news, and then connect the example back to your thesis. And that's where a lot of the kids, especially in Texas, when we do that state essay, they forget to connect their ideas back to their original argument or topic. And of course, you know, when you go to college, you have to do that too, several times. You always have to relate your paragraphs back to your original thesis. So it's good practice that way when they get to college, they know what to look for later. Conclusion. Restate your thesis, claim or belief, by using different words to further explain your main points. Leave the reader with something to think about. And each paragraph should be 5 to 7 sentences long. Some people say like that 3 to 5 rule, but I added 5 to 7 just to, you know, to push it a little bit more. And this is the last anchor chart. It's called Capitalize Your Minutes. Months, which are days of the week, holidays, compass directions, or capitalized. Example, my birthday is in November. I, when it stands alone. Example, I cannot open the presents I received. Nouns, proper nouns, names of people, places, and things, time periods, and historical events. Example, Jason played Fortnite at GameStop, and I try to add like stuff that's relevant, really, you know, in the examples. And titles, jobs, books, magazines, movies, songs, etc. Does anybody have any questions? Right now is probably like a question and answer time for me before Dr. Brandon gets up to speak. Or is there anything that stood out to you? Like, what could you take away from the first 30 minutes of the session? Anybody like to share? Yes.
Everybody should be doing this in their classes, not just in ELA.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's why I feel like, I don't know if everybody in here are ELR teachers, SPED, or you know, ESL, or counselor. I don't know exactly what your role is. But I definitely say that, like, if you snap a picture of the anchor charts, and I can also give you the link to the PowerPoint, I would say maybe try to do this training with your staff, or at least shoot it to your principal or curriculum coach or whatever, to be like, you know, this is some good strategies that I learned, and maybe you can at least print those anchor charts for all the classrooms. Since it's still the beginning of the school year, it's still time to, you know, make these, you know, adjustments.
Yeah, so I do agree with her. All those anchor charts should be, you know, cross-content.
Yes.
Even electives, exactly.
Exactly. Because like when I worked at the campus, we became AVID. I don't know if y'all know what AVID means. I don't actually know what it stands for. But the bottom line is that they use strategies called Wicker strategies. So everybody had to use Cornell notes. It was a non-negotiable. So I'm just going to use that as an example. Even if you just push Cornell notes first, start that as soon as you get back. Then, you know, next month you can do this anchor chart. Start with capitalization. Then January, start revising cuts. You know, revising edits. Slowly integrate. But I'll probably start with Cornell notes, to be honest. And that's why I did the slides like that intentionally, for you to see the projection of these anchor charts are going from a little bit of rigor to more complexity. Thank you, for sharing. Does anybody else have any more questions?
I'm an elementary librarian, and I think this is even great in the library when we do research. That is like fantastic.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, you have access to a printer, girl. You can make
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got this.
And because it's visual, so it's pretty good.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's good for everybody, because even general people that have English as a first language don't know how to write anymore. I hate to say that.
That's just
Even
Yeah.
adults. So I can do it for everybody.
Yeah.
But if there's no further questions, Dr. Brandon is going to come up and
You're
thank y'all
going to the next
again.
slide. Next slide. Next slide.